Hello, and welcome to another Scriptcase tutorial. Today, we're going to be looking at using webcams and integrating them into our Scriptcase application. My name is Nate Carpenter, and I'm going to be teaching this tutorial. Today's subject is a bit more complicated than some of the other tutorials, so it requires a little bit of previous knowledge, so I'm just going to discuss some of the prerequisites. First, we need kind of a basic MySQL knowledge. We're just going to set up a basic table. Then you're going to need some HTML, JavaScript, and even a little bit of jQuery knowledge just to know what we're talking about. We're going to be manipulating some HTML elements using jQuery and JavaScript. And then you're going to need intermediate PHP skills. We're going to use those quite a bit inside of Scriptcase. For integrating webcams in Scriptcase, we have four components. First is the database, and we have just basically one table. Then we have an external library inside of Scriptcase. This is the Webcam.js library. We're going to see that in a bit. Then we have Scriptcase applications. We have a form application and then a blank application to help us with some of the logic. And then lastly, we have Scriptcase programming. So this is programming inside of Scriptcase. So let's get started. So before we get into the nuts and bolts of how this is done, I thought it'd be good to show you what the end product is going to look like. So this is a webcam form. It's in new mode. So we have a name field, so we can put a username in there. Over here is where the image is going to display, but we don't have any image yet, so it's just displaying a thumbnail. And then here we have a button to take the photo. And if we click on this, it's going to pop up a modal. And thankfully I've covered up my webcam, so you don't have to be assaulted with my face. But normally you'd see your face, but you can see my webcam is there, it's just covered up. You can either click the exit button to close the modal, or we'll open it back up here. You can take the photo. And there it's stored the photo there. We can put a name in and then click add. It will add our photo and then put us in a new mode for the form. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of how this is done. We're going to go over to our Scriptcase application. And here we have one application, Save Photo. This is our blank application. We're going to look at that in a bit. But first, let's look at our external library. So we're going to go to the Tools, External Libraries. And we have a few here, but what we're concerned about is this Webcam.js. This is a library I've already created inside of my Scriptcase development environment. And we have it, Webcam.js is the name. If I edit it, you can see some files in there. This Webcam min.js is the file that we're going to reference inside of our application. So this library is a library that is on GitHub. If you look for Webcam.js, you'll find it on GitHub. And it's easy to download and access, and then once you get it downloaded, then you can just take the zipped file and add it right here. If you click upload, it'll pop this up, and then you can just upload the zipped file, and Scriptcase will automatically, as long as you check this box, will automatically unzip the file and put it in place here. So that's very convenient. So that's where that is, but we don't need to think about that too much now. Let's close that up. So now we need to set up our database. So I already have a database table set up, and I'm going to show that to you here. We're going to go to Database Builder. You could do this in PHP-MyAdmin or any other database application that you might have, but Scriptcase gives us the tools to do it, so we're going to show you how to do that there. I'm going to click on my database connection here. And I'm going to use this webcam table. So if you look at this webcam table, it has an ID, a name, and an image. The ID is an int11, it's an auto increment. That is the primary key on this field. The name is of varchar100, and the image is of varchar100. That's just kind of a placeholder right now. And we'll see how we'll use that later. So let's go back to home. Now we're going to create our form application, and we're just going to get some of the UI components in place so it looks like it's supposed to, and then we'll start building the logic underneath. So we're going to click New Application up here. And it's going to be a form application. I'm going to name it Webcam Demo. And then select Webcam. Actually, I renamed it already, but I'm going to call it Webcam Demo. It's going to be my name. And then we're going to click Create. Okay, so our form is created. If we click Edit Fields here, it'll have all our 3 fields. So we have our ID, our name, and our image. And we'll display that just to see what it looks like. Run this application. And here we go. So here we have this, and it's already in an edit mode. I'm going to delete this record because this is the record that we just created. I'm going to delete that. There we go. And this is what it looks like in add mode. And of course the ID is not showing because it's a new record. Let's go back here. If we remember back to the demo, the finished product I showed you at the beginning, it had a button, a take photo button. So we're going to add that. So we're going to go to Fields, New Field, one new field. It can just be a text field. We'll call it Button. The label doesn't matter right now. Click Create. Okay, so now that's created. So now we have another field, a button field. Now we're going to make it look a little bit nicer. We're going to put it in some blocks. So we're going to go to Layout, Blocks. We already have our 1 block. We're going to add 2 more blocks. So 1 for the name, 1 for the image, and 1 for the button. Because if you remember the finished product, I had the name on the left and then the image on the right, and then the button spanned both of them underneath. So let's add 2 more blocks. We're going to call this image because this is the image block, and we don't worry about the label right now because we're not going to display it. And then 1 more block, the button block, and click Create on that. Okay. And we don't need to display the label on any of these, and we don't want them to collapse at all. So we're going to click No on the collapse. And then we want the image block to display next to the webcam demo block, the name block. So I'm actually going to call that name block, so it's a little bit clearer what we're talking about. So this is the name block. So we're going to tell the image to display beside. So the position of the next one, the next block, is going to be beside. So that'll put the image block next to the name block, and then the button block will be below that. So let's hit save on this. So we have all our UI blocks in place. So now we just need to add our fields to the correct blocks. So let's go back to Edit Fields. And we can drag and drop these to our correct blocks. The name field is already in the correct one. We can drag our image to the image block and our button to the button block. So let's go ahead and run this and see how it looks. Okay, so it's running here. This is where our button is going to be. We'll of course make that a little bit nicer. This is our name, and then our image, and that's going to eventually display our image. Let's do one more thing. Let's edit our name block and make sure that our labels are showing. So let's go back to blocks, and a label can show there. Okay, so now we have our label on our name block. Now let's go back here, and now we need to swap out this for our button. So this is where we're going to get into a little bit of programming. We're going to use some of Scriptcase's more advanced functionality. So the first thing we need to do, we can close these up. We need to go to Events, and the onScriptInit event, and we need to add a couple things. First, we need to add the Bootstrap library, which we're going to use for controlling some of these UI components. And then we also need to add our Webcam.js library while we're at it. So I have some code here, and I'm just going to copy it in here, and then I'll explain it. Okay, so first, we're closing the PHP block, because this is PHP code, so we're going to close it up. So now it's just HTML, it's being pushed right to the browser. we have these first two lines are adding Bootstrap, so the CSS for Bootstrap and the JS for Bootstrap. And then here, we're adding our Scriptcase library. This is a Scriptcase macro, the scurl library. It's in the sys library, which is the public one. And the name is webcam.js, because that's what we called it. And then this is the actual file that we are including. This is the minified.js file. And then at the end, we're opening the PHP block back up so it can keep processing. Okay, so now we need to add the code to replace this area with a button. So let's go back to Scriptcase. We need to add this to the onload event. And I'm going to copy some code and paste it in here. So again, we're closing our PHP block so we can push some HTML to the screen. This is a script. We have some jQuery here. And then we're getting this item on the screen. So this is an ID, and we can find this ID. This is an ID assigned by Scriptcase, created by Scriptcase. So if we go back to our webcam form, we have our button here, our button field. We're going to click Inspect. And here we have that ID. This is the input object here, the ID SC field button. So let's copy that and make sure it's the same ID. Paste it in right there. We're going to get that object, and we're going to replace it, so that entire input object is going to be replaced with this HTML. So this is centered, the ID is close button, the type is button, and then the class is button, button info, button large. Those are the three classes. Those are Bootstrap classes. Those are going to style it nicely for us. And then the target is going to be this my modal, which we haven't added yet, but that's going to be the modal that opens up the take photo dialog. So let's go ahead and run this and see what it looks like. So as soon as the form loads, it's going to replace that button field with our actual button. So we run this. And here we have a take photo button. We click on it, nothing happens yet because we haven't added a modal. So now let's go back and add our modal. That's going to be in the onload event, and it's going to be right above this. So let me copy the code for that again. And I'm going to paste it in here. Okay. So we have here a Bootstrap modal. This is a pretty standard Bootstrap modal. Here we have a modal body with a div, a webcam test div. This is an empty div right now. And then we have a button. This is a take photo button. And here we have on the onClick a save photo function. And that's what we're going to add in a little bit, but first we're just going to see what this looks like. We have the take photo is what that button is going to show. And then we also have an exit button, which is just going to close the modal here. So we have the data dismiss modal, and it'll just close it out. Okay, so let's run this and see what it looks like. It should pop up our modal when we click the button now. Okay, click on this, and it pops up our modal. Now we don't have the camera displaying here yet because we haven't added all that in. So this doesn't do anything, but if we click exit, it will close it. So now we've got all the UI set up. We've got the modal set up, we've got the button set up. So now we just need to add some code to configure the camera and use the camera. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to replace this text field with the actual image. So we're going to set that up first here with this document ready function, this little bit of JavaScript. It's going to find that ID SC field name, val, and it's going to get the value out of that name. So again, this ID was gotten through the same manner we got the ID for the button. We get the value out of that, so anything the user put in there. We're going to put an underscore in there, and then we're going to get the ID, get that value, and so that's going to be our name for our image. It's going to be the user's name, underscore, and the ID. That'll give us a unique value when we save this file to the file system. Then we're going to get the image field using the same ID system. We're going to replace it just like we did with the button with all this. So we put this ID on it, and we have our image tag here. We have our photo image ID, and we're pointing to this. This is a folder we've created on our system where we're going to store the images. So this could be anywhere, but it's convenient to put it here, Scriptcase, file, doc, uploads. Then we put our name in there, .png, and then we're setting a width. So this will be, even in edit mode, it'll display the image that we gave it, because it'll be saved to the file system right there with that name. It'll just grab the name and grab the ID and display it. So that'll be all in place. The first time, of course, it won't show anything because there won't be an image there on an add new mode. So that is set up. And then we need to set our webcam up. So this is calling the Webcam.js library that we had. It's using a webcam object. And so this is kind of some magic almost. We don't need to really worry about it. That's why we use the webcam library. So we just need to set these settings. We give it a width, a height, and the destination width, height, image quality, format, flipping. There's a whole bunch of documentation. If you go to the GitHub library page, you can find it all. And then once that's set up, then we just need to attach the webcam to an object on the screen. And that's our webcam test. So if we go back up to our modal, remember we have this div here called a webcam test. That's going to display our image itself. So we are attaching the webcam to that. And then we have a save photo function. And you might remember that from the button here, the take photo button. On click, it's going to call the save photo function. That is this function here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to call the webcam snap. That's actually going to take a picture using the Webcam.js library. And we want it to also close the modal at the same time. So we're going to take the exit button and simulate a click on that. It'll close it up. And then we need to save the PNG. We're going to look at that in just a little bit. But after this, we're going to get that photo ID that we saved so that we know that that's where the photo is going to be. And we're going to replace the inner HTML with the image tag of the data stream. So that's a base64 encoded data stream. It's not actually an image file yet, but it's just to display it on screen. So let's look at how we're actually going to save that image to a PNG file that we can use later. So that's done with the save PNG function. We're passing it the data stream here. Here's the function. Has the image passed in. And as you can see here, we're doing an AJAX call. So that's going to go off back to the server, and it's going to call a PHP file with a post, and it's going to pass the image as well as the name. And then when it's successful, when it comes back, it's going to log the return in case we need that for debugging. So it's calling, as you can see here, the save photo. So it's going in the save photo folder, which is on the file system. Scriptcase created that when I created the save photo application. So let's open that up and look at that. That is just a blank application. I already have it created here. It's pretty easy. You can just create a blank application, and then I have some code in the on execute. And that code just does a little bit. It gets the image out of the post that was passed in. It gets the name out of the post that was passed in. Then it takes that image and it replaces the data header here, the base64. It replaces it with an empty string, so it strips that out, takes any spaces and replaces it with a plus sign. So this is just getting that string formatted to be saved as an actual image. And then it's going to decode the base64 stream there. And then we have something that can be saved as a file. Now we just need to find the place. So we're going to save the path. So that's again in our upload folder that we created already. And that's up a few levels. File doc uploads, and then that name that we passed in. So that's going to be the first name underscore ID. That'll be a unique name, and then .png, make it a PNG. Then we're just going to use this file put contents function. This is a PHP function. If you're unfamiliar with it, you can look it up in the PHP documentation. But it's pretty simple. It just takes a path and then some data, and it puts that data into that location on the disk. And then once that's done, we're good to go. Then it's going to return to the webcam demo, our application. It'll log it, and then it'll continue on. So let's just look at where we are so far. And we just have a little bit left, but we're almost there. Let's look at it and see how it looks. So we're going to run this application. And this time we should get a webcam stream, and we can see everything. We'll load it here. And again, it's replaced that just like we had it do. It's just a thumbnail since we have no image yet. And we're going to take a photo. And here's our webcam stream again. And then we can click Save Photo, but that's not fully set up yet. But we have it working, so it gets the stream and formats it and puts it on the hard drive. So that's put on the hard drive, and then we can just click exit here. So now we need to do just one more thing. So if the user goes up here and clicks take a photo, they haven't necessarily entered their name yet, and the ID hasn't been created yet because we haven't added the record. So now we need to make sure that that image gets named correctly with the name and the ID in it. So now we need to go to the on after insert event right here. And I'm going to copy just a couple lines of code that are pretty simple. So now that the name has been input by the user and an ID has been created, because this is after insert, so that auto increment ID has already been created. They're both there in the field variables with the curly brackets. So we can take and create a new file path in the uploads folder with that full file name. And we can rename an underscore, because that's what it would have been named without the name and ID. We can rename it here using this rename function to the new file name. And then after that, we're all set up and ready to go. So let's go ahead and test this and see if we can get an image saved and view it in edit mode then. So we'll run the application. Okay, so we're going to take a photo and we're going to type in a name. And then we're going to click add, and it added our record. Now we're going to click cancel so we can go into edit mode. And there is our new record with our name and then the image saved to our hard drive. So that's how you integrate a webcam into Scriptcase using the Webcam.js library, a little bit of programming, and a table. I hope this was helpful for you. I'll see you in the next tutorial.